We want to take you to Michigan, where accused Oxford school shooter Ethan Crumbley is appearing in court. This is a hearing to determine whether or not he should stay in the adult facility. He's being charged as an adult. His attorneys are trying to push to have him move to a juvenile facility. That is the back of his head we're looking at right now. Let's see if we can listen in together live and hear what's being said.
He was for not getting caught. His behavior, however, continued to escalate. And when the defendant committed those premeditated murders on November 30th, he did so with the intent to be remembered, to terrorize the community, and to gain recognition. Pursuant to the statute, the court is also allowed to consider other relevant factors. The evidence will show that despite the defendant being held in the Oakland County Jail, he is not completely isolated. He has the ability to watch television. He has access to a tablet wherein he can communicate with family and friends. He can play games and he can read books, all of which he's taken advantage of. He has phone privileges. He receives mail and he has a commissary account. Since his placement in the Oakland County Jail, he has been monitored every 15 minutes, and any issues or concerns that have been brought regarding his care have been taken care of expeditiously and will continue to be addressed at that same level of efficiency. In conclusion, it is important to note that the statute in question specifically emphasizes that the court is to consider what is in the interest of justice, not what is in the best interest of the juvenile. Thus, it is the people's position that it is the defendant's current placement in the Oakland County Jail that is best suited to meet his specific needs, to maintain and protect the safety of the general public, as well as to protect the juveniles at Children's Village. Hence, we believe it is in the interest of justice that he be confined in the Oakland County Jail. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. Ms. Lofton?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, defense completely understands the serious nature of the charges that Mr. Crumbley has been charged with. But the statutes that were quoted and the JJDPA that sets out the guidelines for this hearing tell the court to look at other things, not just specifically the charges and the events of that day. Ms. Hott, myself, and Ms. McKelvey have had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Crumbley at least 12 times. The prosecutor is arguing from a place of what they see in black and white, what they see on his phone. All of these events obviously transpired prior to my client being charged. I think it's going to be very important for the court to look at what's happened since he has been charged. And that's the questions that we will be asking of the witnesses today. Because the factors that are laid out for the court to consider, as I stated, only one part of those factors are the allegations and the events surrounding the charges. There are a number of other things that the court must look at. I believe that the evidence will show that in the time leading up to these events that my client was hallucinating, that he was seeing things, he was hearing voices, he was not sleeping, he was extremely anxious, he was not eating properly, and that he had asked his parents to see a therapist. And at the time of this event, my client was not in any sort of therapy. As to the isolation, Your Honor, we will be arguing that the appropriate placement for Mr. Crumbley is at the Children's Village. He is being housed currently in the clinic facility in the Oakland County Jail. It is essentially a cement cell with a glass door. And because the rule is that he has to be out of sight and sound from adults, he has very little interaction with anyone. So yes, there is a deputy that peers in at him every 15 minutes and signs off that he is doing what he needs to be doing and that he's safe. But our testimony will be that this extreme isolation is actually not beneficial whatsoever and actually harms Mr. Crumbley. Yes, he has access to a tablet a couple of hours a day. It's not something that is housed in his cell with him all the time. He does have access to a phone, but unfortunately Mr. Crumbley does not have the numbers of any family members, so he's not utilized the phone whatsoever. The tablet is set up for communication, so strangers email Mr. Crumbley and he has the ability to respond to those emails. I do not think that is enough to argue that he is not being isolated. He interacts with a caseworker, he interacts with a psychiatrist 1 time per week for minutes. Other than that, if he's not meeting with myself, Ms. Hopp, or Ms. McKelvey, he's not interacting with anyone except when they're handing him his tray of food. We will be arguing that the jail is not equipped with handling juveniles in respect to any type of activity. He does not leave his cell whatsoever. He has, and I know that there are protocols because of COVID and most inmates are not receiving any type of rec or gym time, but he is essentially not leaving his cell at all, except for a shower or if he's being moved to a visitation booth to visit myself or one of the other counsels. So at the close of this hearing, Your Honor, we will be asking that he be moved to Children's Village. I do think that is an appropriate place for him. There are other juveniles charged with murder that are housed in that facility. This would not be the first time. And we feel that due to his age being 15, and although he is educated and a very bright young man, I still think the appropriate placement for him is at Children's Village.
Thank you, Ms. Lofton.
Thank you.
People, you may call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The people call Ms. Christina Bellin.
Thank you. And my staff, because they're being actually kept in another courtroom away from the public, and so my staff is just going to go grab the individual and bring them to the courtroom.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to squeeze in a quick break. Don't go anywhere. This is Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice.
Retired police captain.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. Wow, court is on a brief break in the movie Popcorn Murder Trial in Florida. We are taking you to Michigan, where accused Oxford school shooter Ethan Crumbley is in court. His attorneys are pushing for him to be moved from an adult facility to a juvenile facility. They've called as a witness a counselor who works with the court system doing evaluations. We know he had mental health evaluations as part of this case. Let's listen in together now to a little bit of her testimony.
When you go into your master's program, you have to choose that you want to work with community or work with school.
I know those are community versus school. Is that the only 2 options?
Yes.
Okay. So if a person wanted to specialize in adolescence or juvenile, is that even an option?
Well, specialization is a little bit different than choosing an avenue of either community or the school. So as with school, they work as school counselors in your school settings. Community, then you can do family specializations, but to my knowledge, there is no just juvenile specializations.
Thank you. Now, in your capacity as a caseworker, have you had the opportunity to work with juveniles in the Oakland County Jail?
Yes.
And in your capacity as a caseworker, approximately how many juveniles would you say you've worked with in the past? If you know.
Do you want my deputy years or do you want just as a caseworker?
As a caseworker.
Under 10.
Okay. And are you currently assigned to the defendant? Are you the current caseworker for the defendant in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
When were you assigned to his case?
The day he came in, from my knowledge.
Is that fair to say that would be December 1st?
Yes.
And just for the record, that was December 1st of 2021.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Do you recall how often you were meeting with the defendant when he initially arrived at the Oakland County Jail?
Daily.
Multiple times a day or just once a day?
There may have been a couple occasions where I met with him multiple times just to check in, but it was just mostly 1 time a day.
And how long were those meetings?
It can range anywhere from 5-10 minutes and up. It depends on if there's things to cover.
Okay. And what was the purpose of those meetings? Without getting to the specifics of his treatment, can you just give a general idea of what the purpose is when you do meet with inmates at the Oakland County Jail?
I assess for mental health issues.
Okay. As we sit here today, on February 22nd, are you still meeting with him on a daily basis?
Not on a daily basis, no.
How often are you meeting with the defendant?
Approximately twice a week.
And when did that change?
When he came off of a constant watch.
And do you know when he came off constant watch?
Maybe a month ago.
When you say a month ago, would that be January of 2022?
Yes, sir.
If the defendant needed access to medical treatment for any reason whatsoever, would that treatment be available to him?
Yes.
Where exactly were you meeting with the defendant?
In front of his cell door.
And where's his cell door located?
In the clinic.
And approximately how many other people are located within that clinic area?
Changes daily, but there's always a deputy that assists me for safety and security purposes.
Okay. If the defendant required any other professional visits, such as that to a licensed psychologist, a licensed psychiatrist, or a licensed therapist, would that be available to him?
Licensed psychiatrist, yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, would that, if it was deemed necessary, would that be in person or by some other means?
If currently with COVID, when any inmate in the jail is given access to the psychiatrist, it is done over video at this time.
Is the defendant at any time allowed to refuse meeting with you?
Individuals may not want to speak with me, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to attempt to speak with them.
Okay. So is it fair to say you would meet with the defendant at this moment in time 2 times a week, no matter what?
Yes.
Okay. Now, on average...
I'm sorry, Ms. Washington, when you
Yes.
say this moment in time, can we just give a time frame?
Yes, Your Honor. Meaning, since he's been taken off a constant watch, you've been meeting with him 2 times a week. That was your testimony, correct?
To my best of my ability, of my knowledge, yes.
Okay. How many other inmates are on your case load, if you know, roughly?
Honestly, 70-ish, maybe
Okay.
more, maybe less. I'm not sure. Pre-COVID, it was probably more like 120.
Do you meet with any of your other inmates 2 times a week?
No, ma'am.
And yet you meet with the defendant twice a week.
Yes, ma'am.
And why is that?
Because of his housing and because he's a juvenile.
One moment, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I have nothing further from this witness, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lofton-Cross?
Yes, thank you. Your Honor, I will have some questions and then Ms. Hopp will follow up if that's okay with the court.
That works for me. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. Ma'am, if I ask you something that you don't understand, just let me know and I'll try to ask it a different way, okay?
Okay.
All right, before we see the cross-examination of this caseworker, we need to squeeze in a break as we're nearing the bottom of the hour. Stay right here with more Court TV Live. We're watching this hearing and, of course, are waiting for the jury to come back in Florida.
Cars break.
We have got our eyes on 2 courtrooms for you right now. We're going to continue keeping an eye on the hearing in Michigan for accused school shooter Ethan Crumbley. Now we want to go back to Florida because I'm being told, I'm sorry, we're not going back to Florida. I'm being told we're going to stay in Michigan right now for the hearing of accused school shooter Ethan Crumbley. On the stand right now is a caseworker who did a mental health evaluation for him. She's being cross-examined by the defense. Let's watch.
And in addition to mental health access, physical health access, do you have anything to do with access to education for him?
I do not.
And so you would not know whether he had access to any sort of education programming while he's in the jail?
I work mental health only.
And in your schooling, you mentioned the two avenues, community and school. Did you take any courses in the school part of that at all?
I took community.
Are you aware, even if it's not in your responsibilities, whether he's getting any type of educational services?
I am not aware.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hobb. Any rebuttal?
Just briefly, do I get to question?
Oh, my apologies, Mr. Kilby. You're sitting in the back. My apologies.
Good afternoon, Ms. Belling.
Good afternoon.
Just a couple of questions. What's the makeup of the clinic in relation to cell location? He's in an individual cell, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's a half glass door?
Yes, that looks forward.
Okay, and if he looked out that door, what would be there?
Maybe medical staff walking by.
But a wall?
Or, yes. Oh, there's also a TV.
Right outside the door?
Yes, right up towards on the ceiling.
So does he have control of that?
I do not know.
That's
I
not
do
part
know.
of anything you'd be involved with?
No.
Do you know, was he seen at any time by a psychiatrist while you have been?
I cannot answer that. That's privileged information.
Okay. And generally speaking, if he had any interaction with anyone else, it might be the deputy that's there. You said there was one there, I mean, just manning the clinic?
That's on a constant watch.
Or just in the clinic? Is there a deputy that stays there at all times, like at the desk, or?
He is assessed, or he is seen every 15 minutes on clock rounds from deputies.
Okay. But generally speaking, how many remain there at any given time? If he wanted to talk to somebody, would there, and you were not available, or it wasn't your day, or he didn't need to technically see you, would there be somebody, a deputy at the desk there or something, that he could ask for something?
He would have to wait until somebody comes through, or one of the medical staff. There's not somebody sitting outside. He's not on a constant watch,
Right.
so there's not somebody.
But in proximity, is there usually a deputy that mans the clinic, or is?
Yes.
Okay, so there's that, and then just the medical staff that are there?
Yes.
Do you know how many people are part of the medical staff?
I do
and
not
you may
know.
not know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McKelvey. Rebuttal?
Just very briefly, Your Honor. You testified that you were the individual responsible for taking the defendant off a suicide watch. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What factors went into making that determination?
I can't provide you with that information because that's privileged information.
What factors? You've had other individuals, other inmates on suicide watch, correct?
That is correct.
In a general sense, what factors do you consider when making that determination to take them off a suicide watch?
And again, I can't provide you with that information because it is privileged.
How long was the defendant on suicide watch?
That I am unsure of.
And in regards to his education, have you provided the defendant with any books, like reading material?
Yes, I have.
And what books have those been?
Harry Potter, mostly.
And to the best of your knowledge, has he read those books?
To my knowledge, yes.
And if the defendant needed to speak with someone, how needed to speak with you specifically? Would he be able to contact you? In other words, I believe your testimony earlier was that you generally meet with him on Mondays, but say it's a Wednesday. How would he contact you, or how would he be able to reach you if he needed to see you?
He tells the deputy, and the deputy either calls me, and if it's after hours, they leave a message, and I see him the following day.
And is that for all inmates or specifically for this defendant?
That is for all inmates if it sees fit the situation, but because the defendant is a juvenile, I would make an exception to put him at the top of the list.
And you've been to the defendant's cell, correct? Where you
Yes.
meet him? Are you familiar with the button inside of his cell? a button that allows him to reach?
I've never been inside the cell. I don't know what like where the buttons are. I've stepped in the doorway, but I don't know where there's a button.
Do you meet with him inside the clinic, correct?
Yes.
And you meet with him in the doorway of his cell, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it's your testimony you've never seen the button?
I'm not familiar with a button, is what I'm saying, is I've never paid that close attention. My focus is on the person I'm working with, not on a button.
Are you aware, have you been in other cells inside of the clinic?
Yes.
And have you seen a button inside of the other cells that are inside of the clinic?
I can't say I've ever noticed any buttons because I've never paid that close attention. When I'm dealing with somebody in the clinic, it's usually a crisis situation and I'm focused on that person.
One moment. Ms. Belling, again, I'm not asking for any specific factors regarding this defendant, but I am again going to ask, what factors do you generally consider or look at when making a determination that an individual should be taken off a suicide watch?
And for me, answering that verifies information that I am unable to provide you. So, I mean, if we need a recess, so I can...
One moment, I'll interject here. So I believe the question in general, are you considering a person's age? Are you considering their education? Are you considering their psychological history at that point? In general, not anything specific about this defendant or any individual that you may be evaluating, but in general, when you're considering whether or not to take a person off of suicide watch, what are you looking at? Are you looking at their age? Are you looking at their maturity at the time? What are you looking at? But I don't want to know the specifics about Mr. Crumbley. Just in general, what factors are you looking at?
And again, it takes... I am not the only one. When making this decision, I collaborate with other people in making this decision. And I'm trying to be protective of information. So I'm not alone in making this decision, if that makes sense to you.
That makes sense, Mrs. Belling. Let me ask you this. Would you take an individual off a suicide watch if you had concerns about their safety?
No.
When you took the defendant off a suicide watch, is it fair to say you didn't have any concerns about his safety at that time?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. I did have a couple of follow-up questions. I understand that he's not on a constant watch or suicide watch right now. What type of watch is he on, if any?
He's currently on a behavior watch.
Can you tell me what that means?
He is on a behavior watch as told that he would stay on by my command staff, that he would not come off of it. So if anybody is on a behavior watch, I automatically meet with them one time a week. And anything over that is just me catching up with people.
Now, when you say behavioral watch, can you describe to me what that means in general? What is a behavioral watch, and why would an individual be placed on a behavioral watch?
Behavior watch is usually a step down from being on a suicide watch. After they are cleared from being on suicide watch, they step down into a behavior watch, and we just further assess for any kind of behavioral changes at that time.
Okay, so you're continuing, as you mentioned earlier, to meet with him 2 times per week to assess continued behavior issues or lack thereof?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Are there any follow-up questions based
All right, we're going to squeeze in a break. A very good judge we see here presiding, asking questions, helping to explain and facilitate this questioning. Did you notice how emotional this witness is getting? Looked kind of disturbed at the question and a little frustrated. We're going to continue keeping our eyes on this hearing in Michigan and also the movie Popcorn Murder Trial in Florida. The jury was sent on a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
Tonight on closing argument.
Thanks for being with us here at Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We've got our eyes on two courtrooms for you right now. In Florida, the jury is back from that quick break, and the defense has called another witness. This is Dr. Bernard Adams. He's a forensic pathologist. And Julia Janae told me that right before he took the stand, the defense team willed over a skeleton to be used as a model, perhaps through his testimony to demonstrate whatever it is he wants to share with the jury. But right now, they're doing all of that preliminary questioning, just going through his education, the 25 books he's authored, all of that. So we're going to keep our eyes on this case. As soon as he starts talking about the sum and substance of the movie theater shooting, we're going to go back in live. In the meantime, we're going to stay in Michigan for that hearing for Ethan Crumbley. He's the accused school shooter, accused of murdering 4 of his classmates back in November and injuring 7 others. They've got the second witness called now. Her name is Heather Calcatra. She's with the Oakland County Children's Village Center. She's apparently the manager there. Let's watch.
Was that 16 or 60?
60.
Thank you.
And what are the age ranges of those individuals who are or can be in secure detention?
Typically 11 to 17.
Okay. Can it be older?
Yes.
Can it be younger?
Yes.
Okay. The other areas of the campus, fair to say that those areas can, and specifically the shelter care, children even younger than 10, 9, 8, can they be housed in the shelter area?
Shelter care is birth to 17.
Okay. What types of individuals can be housed in the secure detention facility? When I say what types of individuals, I guess that was a poor question. Presumably, and correct me if I'm wrong, those people in secure detention have been accused of committing a crime.
Correct.
What types of crimes are, I guess, encompassed in that secure detention facility?
All crimes. It could be anything from a drug offense to joyriding to retail fraud to assault, all crimes.
Okay. So fair to say it could be something that is absolutely nonviolent and is purely, I'll say, delinquent up to the most violent crime.
Correct.
Okay. How many do you currently have in secure detention, if you know?
All right, so we're just getting word that the forensic pathologist is off of the witness box, and he is talking to the jury about the gunshot wound that Chad Olson sustained on that day. There you can see him with defense counsel. Let's go in together live.